High Predator Morvax landed on Talvari Prime with 500 of his personal guard. They were the elite of the Vethrak military, each one handpicked for their cruelty and skill. Morvax walked through the ruins of shimmering spires, his sensing organs taking in the destruction around him. But instead of victory, he saw failure. Human defensive positions dotted the landscape. Talvari civilians were being evacuated under armed guard. And everywhere, the bodies of his warriors lay in the streets. "Find the human commander," Morvax ordered. "Bring him to me alive. I want to watch him break." His guards spread out through the city. They found Sergeant Major Han Taesung standing in front of a refugee center, guarding the entrance where hundreds of Talvari waited for transport. Han was exhausted. He had not slept in 2 days. His armor was covered in Vethrak blood, but he was still standing. The Vethrak surrounded him, claws ready. Morvax approached, towering over the human soldier. "You are the one who killed my High Claw," Morvax said. "You are the one who has caused me so much trouble." Han looked up at the massive creature. "I am one of many. If you kill me, another will take my place. And another after that. We do not stop." Morvax laughed, a horrible clicking sound. "Every species says such things before they are harvested. You are no different. You will break like all the others." "Then break me," Han said. "But you will have to do it while looking at what we are protecting. Look behind me. Look at the Talvari we came to save. Children, elders, families, people who did nothing wrong except ask for help. That is why we are here. That is why we will never stop." Morvax paused. He had conquered dozens of worlds. He had harvested billions of lives. He had never thought about them as anything but resources. But now, looking past Han at the frightened Talvari, he saw something that confused him. They were looking at the human with hope, with trust, with love. "You came across the galaxy," Morvax said slowly, "to protect creatures who are not even your own species." "Why?" Han smiled grimly. "Because they asked." Before Morvax could respond, the sky above them changed. Human ships descended through the clouds, landing all around the city. Reinforcements had arrived. Admiral Yoon Daeho himself stepped off the command shuttle, flanked by Captain Shin Unbai and a full battalion of fresh troops. The Admiral walked toward Morvax without fear. The Vethrak guards raised their weapons, but Morvax held up a claw to stop them. He was curious about this human leader who had challenged his entire fleet. "You are the commander," Morvax said. "You are the one who brought the Deathworlders to my harvest ground." Admiral Yoon stood before the massive predator, his hands clasped behind his back. "I am Admiral Yoon Daeho of Earth, and you are trespassing on the territory of our allies." "Allies?" Morvax clicked in confusion. "The Talvari are not your allies. They have nothing to offer you. They are weak. They have no resources worth taking." "They have something worth more than resources," Yoon replied. "They have trust." They reached out into the darkness of space, hoping someone would answer. "We answered. That makes them our people now." Morvax stared at the human. 400 years of conquest had taught him many things about the galaxy. He understood power. He understood fear. He understood the simple logic of predator and prey. But he did not understand this. He did not understand why these creatures from a death world would cross the stars to protect strangers. He did not understand why they would die for people they had never met. "You cannot win," Morvax said finally. "I have more ships, more soldiers. I can call reinforcements that will darken the sky." Admiral Yoon nodded. "You can, but can you afford the cost? Look around you. You have already lost more ships in one battle than you have lost in a century. Your High Claw is dead. Your ground forces are in retreat, and we are just one fleet. Earth has 12 more. The Admiral stepped closer, his voice dropping low. You can keep fighting. You can throw everything you have at us. But we will keep coming. We will never stop. We will never surrender. We will chase you across the galaxy if we have to, because that is what humans do. We are persistence hunters. We do not need to be stronger than you. We just need to outlast you. Morvax felt something cold settle in his chest. It took him a moment to recognize it. Terror. He had faced armies. He had faced fleets. He had faced species that could destroy planets with a thought. None of them had ever made him feel this way. But these humans, these small creatures from their death world, were different. They did not fight with logic. They did not fight for profit. They fought because it was right. And nothing Morvax could do would ever make them stop. This is not over, Morvax said, but even he could hear the weakness in his voice. No, Admiral Yoon agreed. It is not. But you are leaving this world today, and you will send a message to your Dominion. You will tell them what happened here. You will tell them about the Deathworlders who brought fire to your harvest. And you will warn them, do not harvest Earth. We are not cattle. We are fire. Morvax stared at the Admiral for a long moment. Then, slowly, he turned away. He signaled his guards to withdraw. He walked back to his shuttle without another word. As the Vethrak fleet retreated from Talvari Prime, High Predator Morvax sent a message to the Dominion homeworld. It contained only 3 sentences. Do not attack Earth. Do not harvest humans. They are not prey. They are something we have never seen before. They are fire that does not die. 1 week later, Admiral Yoon Dae-ho stood in the rebuilt plaza of shimmering spires. The Tovari had cleaned up the worst of the destruction, and life was slowly returning to the city. Guildmaster Pelok stood beside him, his crystal wings glowing in the sunlight. We owe you everything, Pelok said. The humans saved our world, our people, our future. You owe us nothing, Yoon replied. You asked for help. We came. That is how it should be. Nevertheless, the Telvari Collective wishes to formalize an alliance with Earth. We offer our knowledge archives, our scientific research, our cultural treasures. Whatever we have is yours. Admiral Yoon smiled. We accept. Not for the knowledge, but for the friendship. At the Galactic Council Chamber, Premier No Sung-woo of Earth addressed the assembled species. The representatives watched him with a mixture of fear and fascination. They had heard what happened at Talvari Prime. They had heard about the Deathworlders who would not break. We did not come to your galaxy to conquer, Premier No said. We did not come to dominate. We came because we heard a cry for help. And humans answer those cries. We will always answer. If you are in danger, call us. If you are oppressed, reach out. If you face darkness, know that Earth stands ready to bring light. He paused, looking around at the alien faces. The Vethrak thought we were prey. They learned otherwise. Let this be a lesson to any who would harm the innocent. Humanity protects. Humanity fights. And humanity never gives up. Council Speaker Ionis spoke after a long silence. Earth has earned its place among us. You have shown that strength is not only measured in ships and weapons, but in the courage to stand for others. That evening, Admiral Yoon returned to the Eternal Dawn. Lieutenant Park So-mi met him at the bridge with a data tablet in her hands. Admiral, we are receiving new transmissions. 17 distress signals from different worlds. They all heard about what we did here. They all want to know if we will help them too. Admiral Yoon took the tablet and looked at the list. 17 worlds. 17 cries for help. 17 chances to show the galaxy what humanity truly was. He smiled. Tell them we are coming. And across the stars, the fires of Earth began to spread. Not fires of destruction, but fires of hope. Fires of protection. Fires that would never die. The landing pods hit the ground like metal fists. Dust and debris exploded outward as 100 soldiers of the Inferno Squad emerged into the ruins of shimmering spires. Once, this city had been beautiful. Its towers had been made of crystal that sang when the wind passed through them. Its streets had been lined with gardens of bioluminescent flowers. Its libraries had held the knowledge of 1,000 generations. Now it was a graveyard. Sergeant Major Han Taesung stepped out of his pod and looked at the destruction around him. Buildings lay in pieces. Bodies of Talvari civilians were scattered in the streets. The air smelled of smoke and death. In the distance, Vethrak ground forces were moving through the city, hunting for survivors. Inferno Squad, form up, Han ordered through his helmet communicator. Our mission is to secure this district and evacuate any civilians we find. Remember your training. Remember why we are here. Move out. The squad spread through the ruins in small teams. They moved quickly but carefully, checking each building for survivors. The Vethrak were everywhere, their four-legged forms scrambling over rubble, their sensing organs sweeping for heat signatures. The first contact came within 10 minutes. Private Moon Kite spotted a group of Talvari huddled in the basement of a collapsed building. They were mostly children, their crystal wings folded tight against their bodies in fear. An elderly Talvari was trying to keep them quiet, but one of the young ones was crying. I found civilians, Kite reported. Approximately 20, mostly children. But there are Vethrak approaching from the east. 3 of them. Han's voice came back immediately. Hold your position. We are coming to you. Kite moved to the entrance of the basement and raised his weapon. The Vethrak were close now. He could hear their clawed feet scraping against the stone. He could hear the clicking sounds they made when they sensed prey. The first Vethrak appeared around a corner. It was massive, twice Kite's size, with 4 arms ending in claws that could tear through armor. Its eyeless head turned toward him. It had detected his heat. It screamed a hunting cry and charged. Kite fired. The plasma bolt struck the creature in the chest, burning through its chitin shell. The Vethrak staggered but kept coming. Kite fired again. And again. The third shot brought the creature down, smoke rising from the holes in its body. But there were 2 more behind it. They came fast, too fast for Kite to aim properly. He fired wildly, hitting one in the arm but missing the other entirely. The closest Vethrak swung its claws at him. Kite raised his arm to block. The claws tore through his armor and into the flesh beneath. Pain exploded through his body. Blood poured from the wound. Any other species would have collapsed, would have surrendered, would have died. But Kite was human. He grabbed his combat knife with his good hand and drove it into the Vethrak's throat. The creature gurgled and fell. Kite turned to face the last one, but before he could move, 2 plasma bolts struck it from behind. Sergeant Han and 3 other soldiers had arrived. Private, are you injured? Han asked. Kite looked at his arm. The wound was deep. He could see bone. I can still fight, Sergeant. Han nodded. Good man. Get those civilians out of here. We will cover you. In another part of the city, Medic Corporal Imuna was facing a different kind of battle. She'd found a group of wounded Talvari in what had once been a hospital. Most of them had injuries that would have killed humans. Burns, missing limbs, internal damage from the bombardment, but Yuna was trained for this. She moved among them with supplies from her medical kit, treating wounds and stabilizing patients. The Talvari watched her with wonder in their compound eyes. They had never seen anything like this. What is she doing? One of the wounded asked. Elder Quillix, a Talvari who had been leading the local resistance, answered quietly. She is healing us. She is a healer warrior. The humans have such things. But why? We are not her species. We are not her people. Quillix watched as Yuna carefully bandaged a young Talvari's broken wing. Her hands were gentle. Her face was focused. She moved with the certainty of someone who knew exactly what she was doing and why. Because that is what humans do, Quillix said. They help those who need help. Even strangers. Even those who cannot help them in return. It is strange. It is beautiful. Yuna looked up and saw Quillix watching her. She did not speak the Talvari language, but she understood the look in the elder's eyes. She nodded slightly and returned to her work. Outside, the battle continued. Inferno Squad was holding a defensive line around the evacuation zone, keeping the Vethrak forces at bay while civilians were moved to safety. The fighting was brutal, close, personal. The Vethrak were fast and deadly, but the humans would not retreat. Sergeant Han stood at the center of the line, his weapon firing in controlled bursts. He had been fighting for 6 hours without rest. His armor was dented and scarred. His body was screaming for sleep. But he would not stop. He could not stop. A Vethrak commander appeared at the far end of the street. It was larger than the others, with ceremonial markings on its chitin shell. This was a High Claw, a leader among the ground forces. It pointed at Han and screamed an order. Dozens of Vethrak charged the human line. Hold formation, Han shouted. Do not let them through. The humans stood their ground. They fired until their weapons overheated. They fought with knives and fists when their guns failed. They protected each other, covering their teammates, pulling wounded comrades to safety that the Vethrak had never seen anything like it. Their prey always fled. Their prey always gave up. But these humans fought like cornered animals. They fought like they had nothing to lose. They fought like they would rather die than let one Talvari be harmed. The High Claw pushed through the battle toward Han. It was the biggest Vethrak Han had ever seen, towering over him by nearly a full meter. Its forearms spread wide, claws gleaming. You are strong, Deathworlder, it said in broken galactic common. But strength cannot save you. We are the Vethrak. We do not lose. Han looked up at the monster. He was tired. He was wounded. He was probably going to die. Maybe not, he said. But you will remember this day. You will remember the day you met humans. And you will learn to be afraid. The High Claw screamed and attacked. What followed was not a fight. It was a lesson that Han was smaller. Han was weaker. But Han was faster. He ducked under the first strike, drove his knife into the Vethrak's leg, rolled away from the second strike, and came up firing. The plasma bolts burned into the creature's shell. The High Claw stumbled. Han did not stop. He attacked again and again, never giving the creature time to recover. He was not trying to win. He was trying to survive long enough to hurt it, to show it that humans were not prey, to show it that humans were fire. The High Claw finally fell, its body broken, its life fading. As it died, it looked up at Han with something that might have been respect. What? Are you? It whispered. Han stood over the body, breathing hard. We are humans, and we protect those who cannot protect themselves. Across the city, the tide of battle was turning. Word spread among the Vethrak forces that the High Claw had fallen, that the Deathworlders could not be stopped, that these creatures from the small blue world were something new, something terrible. And far above, on his flagship, High Predator Morvax received a report from the surface. He read it 3 times, unable to believe what it said. His ground forces were retreating. His best commander was dead, and the humans were still fighting. Morvax made a decision. He would go to the surface himself. He would face these Deathworlders and show them the truth. The Vethrak High Predator Morvax watched the human fleet emerge from hyperspace. His sensing organs detected 47 ships, all of them smaller than his own vessels. His forearms clicked together in what passed for laughter among his species. 47 ships, he said to his commanders. They bring 47 ships against our 200. The Deathworlders are either brave or stupid. Perhaps both. High Predator, one of his officers said. Should we surround them immediately? Morvax considered the question. In 400 years, the Vethrak had never lost a battle. They had consumed entire civilizations. They had made the galaxy fear their name. What could one small species from one small world possibly do against them? No, Morvax decided. Let them come closer. Let them see how many of us there are. Fear will do our work for us. When their spirits break, the harvest will be sweeter. But on the bridge of the eternal dawn, Admiral Yunde Ho was not afraid. He looked at the enemy fleet spread across the void and saw not 200 ships. He saw 200 targets. All ships, this is Admiral Yun, he said into the fleet-wide communication channel. The enemy expects us to fight like the species they have conquered before. They expect us to form a line and exchange fire at long range. They expect us to retreat when the casualties become too high. They expect us to break. He paused, letting his words settle into the hearts of his crews. We will do none of these things. We are human. We do not break. We bend, and then we snap back. All ships proceed to attack Patton Wolfpack. We are going into the asteroid field. The Vethrak watched in confusion as the human fleet changed course. Instead of approaching them directly, the humans were flying toward a dense asteroid field that orbited Tovari Prime. No sane species would fight in such a dangerous place. The rocks were too unpredictable. The sensors would be useless. Ships would crash into stone before they could see their enemies. What are they doing? A Vethrak commander asked. High Predator Morvax felt something strange. It took him a moment to identify the feeling. It was the first hint of doubt. Follow them, he ordered. They cannot hide in there forever. The Vethrak fleet moved toward the asteroid field. Their ships were elegant and fast, designed for quick strikes and faster retreats. They were not built for close combat. They were not built for chaos. The human ships were. Pilot Cho Hai-jin sat in the cockpit of her fighter, the Phoenix 7. She was the leader of Phoenix Squadron, 12 pilots who were considered the best in Earth's fleet. Her hands rested on the controls. Her eyes watched the asteroid field grow closer. Phoenix Squadron, she said, her voice calm and steady. Remember your training. The Vethrak cannot handle high G turns. Their bodies are too fragile. They will try to fight us at a distance. Do not let them. Get close. Stay close. Make them chase you through the rocks. Copy that, Phoenix Leader, her squadron responded. The human fleet entered the asteroid field. Immediately, the chaos began. Rocks tumbled through space in every direction. Sensors flickered with static. Communication became difficult. It was exactly what Admiral Yoon wanted. The first Vethrak ships entered the field, and they found the humans waiting for them. Captain Shin Yumbai stood on the bridge of the Indomitable as her ship emerged from behind a massive asteroid. The Vethrak vessel in front of her had no time to react. The Indomitable's main guns fired. 3 shots of concentrated plasma that tore through the enemy's hull. Direct hit, her weapons officer reported. Enemy ship disabled. Find the next one, Yumbai ordered. Keep moving. Do not let them surround us. Throughout the asteroid field, similar scenes played out. Human ships appeared from behind rocks, fired, and disappeared again. The Vethrak tried to pursue, but their ships were not designed for such tight spaces. 2 Vethrak vessels crashed into asteroids when their pilots could not turn fast enough. 3 more were destroyed by human ambushes. High Predator Morvax screamed in rage. This was not how battles were supposed to work. The prey was supposed to flee. The prey was supposed to die easily. The prey was not supposed to fight back like this. All ships, spread out, he commanded. Find them and destroy them. But spreading out was exactly what the humans wanted. Alone, Vethrak ships were vulnerable. Together, the humans could hunt them one by one. Pilot Cho Hai-jin led her squadron through a narrow gap between 2 spinning asteroids. A Vethrak fighter followed her, its weapons charging for a killing shot. Hai-jin smiled grimly and pulled her controls hard to the left. Her fighter spun into a turn that would have killed a Vethrak pilot instantly. The G-forces would have crushed their organs. But Hai-jin was human. Her body was built for Earth's heavy gravity. She felt the pressure push against her chest, felt her vision narrow at the edges, felt her heart work harder to pump blood to her brain. It hurt, but she had felt worse. The Vethrak behind her tried to follow. You tried to follow. Its pilot lasted 2 seconds before the G-forces rendered it unconscious. The ship continued forward in a straight line and crashed into an asteroid in a ball of flame. Phoenix 7, Splash 1, Hai-jin reported. Moving to next target. On the Eternal Dawn, Chief Engineer Baek Junho worked frantically in the engine room. A Vethrak shot had hit them minutes ago, damaging the power systems. In any other fleet, the ship would have retreated for repairs. But this was a human ship. I need 15 minutes. Junho shouted to his team. We have 5. His assistant yelled back. Then I will do it in 4. Junho grabbed his tools and climbed into the damaged section. The heat was intense. The radiation warning lights were flashing red. Any Galactic Council engineer would have waited for the area to be safe before entering. But Junho did not have time to wait. He worked with hands that had been burned before and would be burned again. He connected wires that sparked and bit at his fingers. He sealed leaks that hissed poison into his face. His lungs burned. His eyes watered. His skin blistered. But he kept working. 3 minutes and 42 seconds later, the Eternal Dawn's power systems came back online at full strength. Admiral, the systems officer reported, we have full power. Engineering brought us back. Admiral Yoon nodded. Thank Chief Baek personally when this is over. Now, target the enemy flagship. It is time to show High Predator Morvax what he's dealing with. The battle continued for 3 more hours. By the end, the asteroid field was filled with the wreckage of Vethrak ships. The humans had lost 12 vessels. The Vethrak had lost 63. For the first time in 4 centuries, the Dominion had met an enemy they could not easily destroy. High Predator Morvax stared at the tactical display on his flagship. The numbers did not make sense. The Deathworlders should have been destroyed. They should have fled. They should have surrendered. Instead, they were winning. One of his officers approached carefully. High Predator, the human fleet has broken through our line. They are establishing a position above the planet's capital city. They are preparing to land ground forces. Morvax felt something he had never felt in 400 years of conquest. He felt fear. What are these creatures? He whispered. Below, on the burning surface of Talvari Prime, Guildmaster Pelox watched human ships descend through the clouds. He saw the landing pods separate and fall toward his city like seeds of hope. The battle in space was not over, but the battle on the journey through hyperspace took 4 days. 4 days of waiting, 4 days of preparing. 4 days for the crew of the Third Fleet to understand what they were about to face. Captain Shin Yunbai gathered her officers in the briefing room of the Indomitable. She was a woman of 42 years, small in size but large in presence. Her voice was calm, but everyone who knew her understood that calmness hid a mind that could find victory in any situation. "Let me tell you about the Vethrak," she began, activating a holographic display. The image showed creatures that looked like nightmares given flesh. They stood on 4 legs like spiders. Their upper bodies had 4 arms ending in sharp claws. Their heads were eyeless, covered instead with sensing organs that could detect heat and movement from great distances. Their mouths were filled with rows of teeth designed to tear through metal. "They call themselves the perfect predators," Yunbai continued. "They believe every other species exists only to be hunted. They do not negotiate. They do not take prisoners. They consume." Sergeant Major Han Taesung stood at the back of the room, his arms crossed over his broad chest. He was the leader of the Inferno Squad, the most dangerous ground combat unit in Earth's military. His face was scarred from a dozen battles. His eyes were steady like stones at the bottom of a river. "What are their weaknesses?" he asked. Captain Shin nodded at the question. "They evolved on a world with gravity only half of Earth's. Their bodies are fast but fragile. They cannot fight for long periods. They expect their prey to run or surrender quickly. They have never faced a species that can match their endurance." She changed the holographic image to show Earth's classification in the Galactic Council database. The words, "Category 7 Deathworld," glowed in red letters. "The Council classifies planets by danger level," she explained. "Category 1 is a paradise world. Category 10 is considered impossible for life. Earth is a 7. Our gravity is heavy. Our atmosphere contains a gas that most species consider poison. We call it oxygen. Our weather includes storms, floods, earthquakes, and fire that falls from the sky. Our planet is covered with predators, diseases, and plants that can kill." She paused and looked at her crew. "And yet, humans not only survived on this world, we conquered it. We became the apex predators of a planet designed to kill everything on it." The display changed again, showing records from humanity's first contact with the Galactic Council 30 years ago. Captain Shin had not been born yet, but she had studied the records carefully. "When the Council first met humans, they were terrified," she said. "Our ambassador smiled at them, showing his teeth. On most worlds, showing teeth is a threat display." Several council members fled the room. When our delegation ate lunch in front of them, consuming cooked animal flesh, 3 representatives had to receive medical treatment for shock. A soft laugh passed through the room. The crew had heard these stories before, but they never stopped being amusing. The council learned that humans can survive injuries that would kill any other species. We can lose limbs and keep fighting. We can go without sleep for days. We can eat almost anything organic. We heal from wounds that other species consider fatal. Our bodies are designed to chase prey until it collapses from exhaustion. This is called persistence hunting. We are not the fastest creatures. We are not the strongest. But we never stop coming." She turned off the display. "The Vethrak have never faced anything like us. They expect their enemies to break quickly. They expect fear to do most of their work. They do not understand that humans become more dangerous when we are afraid. Fear makes us fight harder." On the command ship Eternal Dawn, Admiral Yoon Dae-ho stood alone in his quarters, reading a message from Earth. It was from his daughter. She was 23 years old, working as a teacher in Seoul. She had written to say she was proud of him. She had written to say she understood why he had to go. She had written to say she loved him. The Admiral closed his eyes for a moment. He thought about all the Telvari parents who would never see their children again. He thought about all the Tal'Vari children who were waiting for someone to save them. He opened his eyes and deleted the message. He could not afford to think about home right now. He could only think about what lay ahead. A knock came at his door. Lieutenant Park Somi entered, holding a data tablet. "Sir, I have been monitoring Vethrak communications. They know we are coming." Admiral Yoon raised an eyebrow. "And what do they say about us?" Somi checked her tablet. High Predator Morvax, the commander of the Vethrak fleet, sent a message to his ships. He said, and I quote, "The prey from the small blue world comes to offer itself. Prepare the harvesting chambers. We will feast on their life force for years." The Admiral smiled slightly. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a hunter who knows his prey has underestimated him. "Good. Let them think we are food. Surprise prey fights harder, but surprise predators make mistakes." On the Indomitable, Sergeant Han gathered his Inferno squad in the cargo bay. They were 100 soldiers, the best ground fighters Earth had to offer. They wore heavy armor designed for Earth's gravity. They carried weapons that fired concentrated plasma, hot enough to burn through Vethrak chitin. "Listen up," Han said, his voice filling the bay. "In 2 days, we will drop onto a world that has been under attack for weeks. The Tal'Vari cannot fight back. They have no claws, no weapons, no military training. They are scholars and artists. They spent their lives learning and creating beautiful things. And now they are being slaughtered." He paused, looking at each of his soldiers in turn. "We are not going there to conquer. We are not going there for glory. We are going there because someone asked for help. Because innocent people are dying. Because if we do not go, no one will." A young soldier raised her hand. "Sergeant, the odds are bad. Really bad. What if we fail?" Han nodded at the question. "Then we fail. But we fail trying. We fail fighting. We fail standing between monsters and the people they want to eat. That is what humans do. We protect. We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. And even when we know we might lose, we go anyway." Far away, on Tal'Vari Prime, Guildmaster Palax watched the sky through a broken window. The Vethrak ships still circled above, raining fire on any building that showed signs of life. His people were dying. His world was burning. But somewhere in the darkness of space, help was coming. Palax had spent his entire life studying the history of the galaxy. He knew about the great empires that had risen and fallen. He knew about the wars that had shaped civilization. He knew about the species that had been erased from existence. And now, for the first time, he was learning about humans. He had found old records in the archives before they were destroyed. Records of Earth. Records of a species that had survived ice ages and plagues and wars. Records of beings who refused to accept defeat, even when defeat was certain. The humans had a saying, one that Palax did not fully understand. It is not over until it is over. Now, hiding in the ruins of his world, Palax was beginning to understand what those words meant. Above him, the stars began to flicker. Something was happening in the space around his planet. Ships were emerging from hyperspace. Not the curved, organic ships of the Vethrak. These were different. These were angular and heavy and rough. These were human. The third response fleet had arrived. Palax looked up at the sky, his crystal wings catching the light of the distant explosions. "They came," he whispered. They actually came. And in the void above, 47 ships. The signal came at 3 in the morning, Earth Standard Time. It cut through the silence of space like a scream in the dark. Lieutenant Park Somi was the first to hear it. She sat alone in the communications room of Earth Defense Command, her eyes tired from watching screens that rarely showed anything interesting. But tonight was different. Her console lit up with strange symbols. The computer worked to translate them. When the words appeared on her screen, Somi felt her heart stop for a moment. Please help us. They are killing everyone. We have nowhere else to turn. Earth, please answer. We are dying. The message repeated again and again. It came from a star system 40 light years away, from a species called the Talvari. Somi had read about them in the Galactic database. They were peaceful creatures, shaped like large insects with wings of crystal. They spent their lives collecting knowledge and building libraries. They had no weapons. They had no army. And now someone was destroying them. Somi immediately contacted her commander. Within the hour, the message reached Admiral Yoon Dae-ho, the leader of Earth's third response fleet. He was a man of 60 years with gray hair and calm eyes. He had fought in the Mars Rebellion 20 years ago. He had seen war. He understood what the Talvari were facing. The Admiral called a meeting at Earth Defense Command. Representatives from the Galactic Council were present through holographic projection. Their images flickered in the conference room, showing beings of many shapes and colors. There was the serpent-like Vasari ambassador. There was the floating gas creature from the Nebula Collective. There was Council Speaker Ionis, a being of pure light who led the galactic government. Admiral Yoon stood before them all. We received a distress signal from the Talvari Collective. The Vethrak Dominion has invaded their homeworld. We must send help. The room fell silent. The alien representatives looked at each other with what might have been fear. Council Speaker Ionis spoke first. His voice was like wind passing through glass. Admiral, we understand your concern, but the Galactic Council cannot intervene in this matter. The Vethrak are too powerful. Their fleet numbers in the thousands. They have conquered 73 worlds in the last century. No force in the galaxy can stop them. So we do nothing? Admiral Yoon asked. We survive, the Vasari ambassador hissed. That is what civilized species do. We do not throw our lives away for lost causes. The Talvari are already dead. They simply do not know it yet. Ambassador Kwon Ji-won stepped forward. She was Earth's diplomatic representative to the Council, a woman with sharp eyes and a sharper mind. With respect, Ambassador, the Talvari are still fighting. They are still alive. And they asked for our help. They asked the entire galaxy for help, Ionis replied. Earth was simply the only world foolish enough to consider answering. Admiral Yoon nodded slowly. Then we will be foolish alone. The alien representatives stared at him. They did not understand. How could they? Their species had evolved on gentle worlds with soft gravity and kind weather. They had never needed to fight for survival. They had never known what it meant to refuse to give up. But Earth was different. Earth was what the galaxy called a death world. The gravity was crushing. The weather was violent. The animals were predators. And the humans who came from this world carried something in their blood that other species did not have. They carried stubbornness. They carried hope. They carried fire. Admiral Yoon turned to his officers. Mobilize the Third Fleet, all 47 ships. We leave in 6 hours. Admiral, Ionis interrupted, you do not understand what you are facing. The Vethrak do not simply conquer. They harvest. They take entire populations and use them for biological resources. Their ships are powered by the life force of their victims. You will not be fighting an enemy. You will be feeding them. The Admiral looked at the glowing form of the Council Speaker. His voice was quiet but firm. Then they will choke on us. 6 hours later, the Third Response Fleet gathered above Earth. The ships were not elegant like the vessels of the Galactic Council. They were rough and heavy, built to survive the harsh conditions of Earth's solar system. Their hulls were thick. Their weapons were simple but powerful. They looked like fists made of metal. At the center of the fleet was the command ship, the Eternal Dawn. Admiral Yoon stood on its bridge, watching the stars through the main viewport. Beside him stood Lieutenant Park So-mi, who had been the first to hear the Talvari cry for help. "Sir," she said softly, "the Council says the Vethrak have over 200 ships at Talvari Prime. We have 47. The numbers are not good." Admiral Yoon smiled slightly. "Numbers are never good for humans. We have always been outnumbered. By our planet, by our predators, by our own history. And yet we are still here." Captain Shin Yunbai, commander of the assault carrier Indomitable, spoke through the communication system. "Admiral, all ships report ready for hyperspace jump. The crew is prepared. They know the odds. They want to go anyway." "That is because they are human," the Admiral replied. "Set course for the Talvari system. Maximum speed." The fleet moved as one. Engines roared to life, burning with blue fire. Space bent around the ships as they prepared to jump across the galaxy. In her communications room, So-mi sent one final message back toward the Talvari system. It was simple. It was short. It was everything the Talvari needed to hear. "This is Earth. We heard your signal. We are coming. Hold on." Far across the galaxy, on a world burning under Vethrak bombardment, an old Talvari named Guildmaster Pelox received the message. He'd been the one to send the original distress call. He had not expected anyone to answer. Every other species had ignored them. Every other world had turned away. But not Earth, not the humans. Pelox's crystal wings trembled as he read the words again and again. Around him, his city was falling. Buildings collapsed. His people screamed. The sky was filled with enemy ships. But for the first time in days, Pelox felt something he had forgotten. He felt hope. He gathered the survivors in an underground shelter. They were scared. They were tired. They thought they were going to die. "Listen to me," Pelox said, his voice weak but certain. "Help is coming. The Deathworlders of Earth are coming. We must survive until they arrive." A young Talvari looked up at him with frightened eyes. "What can the humans do against the Vethrak? They are just one small species from one small world." Pelox remembered the stories he had read in the Grey Archives. Stories about Earth. Stories about humans. Stories about a species that had conquered their own deadly planet through nothing but stubborn refusal to die. "The humans," Pelox said slowly, "do not know how to give up. And that makes them more dangerous than any army in the galaxy." Above them, the bombardment continued. But below, in the darkness, the Talvari began to hope. Somewhere in the black void of space, 47 ships were racing toward them. 47 ships crewed by beings from a world of death. 47 ships carrying the fire of Earth. The Vethrak had conquered 73 worlds. They had